Oh, we live.
We live. That was a little fast. I'm not gonna lie. I saw the button click, like mid conversation. He just clicks button and like, oh.
What's
The
going on,
Celsius is
people?
popped.
Yeah, some ASMR for you folks.
Yeah, Lucas, I was just about to say the same thing. Hey, folks.
We're in it.
Woo.
This is episode 9 of I'm Not Supposed to Be Here.
Whoa.
Wow, episode 9.
Yes, I'm one of your
So
hosts.
soon.
Trent,
I know, right?
something here with.
Yes, Christian docs myself, Felix.
Hey, Lucas Gustin, third and final host. Welcome, everybody. Welcome,
And you
welcome.
get the
Episode
full
9.
name. How's
Yeah.
everybody doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. You know, had a mission trying to get here, so we're not recording in our typical studio dungeon.
Oh.
I call it the studio dungeons, but
New
yeah,
location.
new location dropped.
We've moved
On the map.
on up.
Right, we're actually in the studio for today's topic of the episode.
Where are
which-
we? Oh, sorry, I interjected. Where are we actually? By the way, I
I'm
just
not
took a
supposed to
train.
be here.
Yeah, right. I think we're in what, like far Williamsburg, East Williamsburg, or
I
something.
think so. I know I got off the stop and it was like Bushwick, and I'm like, okay, this is Bushwick area, right?
There we are.
I know people in Brooklyn are gonna take me out. They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this illiterate kid. But I'm from the Bronx. I'm sorry. We don't party in warehouses like
Damn.
Like the rest of them.
like the rest of them.
Shout out to the Bronx.
Shout out to the Bronx.
Shout out to the Bronx.
But also shout out to Brooklyn. You know, I've actually been in this area a couple times for a couple events, so it's pretty cool. I actually have a show here in a couple days.
Really?
Yes.
Close by or what?
Yeah, like right there.
Before you go on vacay?
Yeah.
Sheesh. This dude's selling out shows and hopping on planes and editing and
Oh, man.
everything in between. We love to see it, young
Selling
Sage.
out shows.
selling
Shout out
out
to our
shows.
next episode.
Yeah. Oh, foreshadowing. I like when we have stuff planned out.
There's a few different contexts to selling out. Some
Yeah.
good, some
Yeah.
not. I guess
Foreshadowing.
one could say, but anyways, yes, here we are. Topic for today, Christian. Let's hear it.
Yeah, today's topic is photography. Ooh.
I
I'm
suppose
really
you could
excited
say
for this.
we're through all three of us are photographers to some extent. Me probably being the lesser of the three, but still engaging fully with my iPhone 14 Pro Max.
Hey, shout out, you know?
Shouts out to the
I guess I
future.
did a little bit of videography back in the day.
You did a lot of it.
Does I suppose
Yo,
that could correspond
had
to that.
Your
episode.
photos are
Series.
iconic. I have a specific
you.
one. I
Really?
wanna put
Which one?
The one where you're jumping and you have the orange beanie on and it has like film grain on it. I love that
remember.
photo.
Shout out to Roshan Jacob, Roshan.Jacob on Instagram. Incredible photographer. He
Yes.
took that photo.
Amazing.
But wow, okay. Very nice, very nice.
I have it saved on my phone. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, I'd love to
I
hear
want to
that.
see this
I
photo.
hope that's
I don't know
my
if I've seen it.
I hope
Yeah,
that's
that
maybe
photo.
my like photo ID or something. But then yeah, so I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna get
shoot.
James to pull up the photo. Mr. Dean.
Hey, please and thank you.
Oh, he's not here today.
Yeah, he must have missed it.
we have to bring a printout.
But right. But yeah, no, I would say Trent, you're really kind of leading, blazing the trail on this EP here. If I had to say so,
I'd say you're probably the most
Christian,
professional.
you're newer, so to speak, into photography, but
Yes.
super out there. This
I have
kid
been putting in the
always
work.
has a camera around his neck,
He does.
snapping
He's dedicated.
photos,
I
dedicated.
love to see it.
20,000
it's
photos
very
in Lightroom and
inspiring.
counting.
Wow, crazy.
Excited. And imagine I only really started taking pictures like last year,
Really?
Like-
Okay.
like October, September, not even.
And Trent, the seasoned veteran,
Yeah.
veteran in the game, has the skills,
I've
has the
been doing
eye.
photography officially since like 2007.
Woo, that's fire.
What defines officially?
What was the official definition?
Well, like what's like the line in the sand? Like, okay, now I'm starting photography.
I mean, really, for me, it was actually taking classes. I mean, I still considered myself a photographer beforehand, but that's when I started taking it seriously. Let me see that. Yo, I don't know if I've ever seen that.
This is one of my favorite photos. I just love it.
That's so
Really?
dope.
I feel
Why?
like you know what?
Maybe we could like I don't know, throw it in the script or something.
Yo,
whenever
maybe
we
that
release
could be
one.
the episode
Title.
That'd be dope.
That'd be dope.
That'd be
the,
dope.
The cover art for the episode.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, no. I guess let's get into my journey. It started with my original love was drawing.
Yeah.
And then I think I've talked about it on past episodes where it was like I didn't want to sell that.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of photography is sort of the compromise to where I feel like I could sell my photos. But it all started, I used to work at a little company called Avis and Budget.
Oh, I
And
don't even know what that is.
Is that the car rental?
Yeah, the car
Oh,
rental.
okay,
place.
never mind.
Wait, how old were you when you were working there? Oh wait,
How old was
2007.
I?
Okay.
That was before 2007. I was early 20s, something
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
I'm
Oh.
aging myself on this episode. And I found like we would clean the cars after because it was at the airport, so people would rent cars and then they would bring them back as they're flying out, and we would find they would leave stuff behind, and
Yeah.
obviously if they didn't come back for it was fair game.
Yeah.
So I found a digital camera.
Whoa.
And it wasn't even like
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't even like an actual DSLR. It was just a point and shoot.
Oh, point and shoots are fire.
And
Though.
yeah, and I just like I was the first to find it, so I was like, yo, it's mine. But I always when I hold on to an item, I always keep it and don't actually claim it for a couple days in case somebody comes back for
Yeah,
it. And
sure.
then, like, oh my God, look what I found.
But nobody
Like,
came
Digital
back.
point and shoot.
yeah. So, but nobody came back for it. I think there were some photos on it, but we delete the evidence. Yeah, and then I started playing around with that, and then I think I also got a cell phone at the time too. So we were playing with the
What cell phone are we talking here?
this
Oh
was
my
a
God.
flip
Flipster?
phone.
Oh
yeah.
man, I remember
think it
having a
had,
flip
like-
phone.
Like you
Think it was
said you
on
never
Tetris.
had a flip phone?
No, I had one. I had
Oh
one.
wow.
Yeah, I used to have Tetris on it. That thing was fire.
Which which
I love
which one
Tetris
was
on
it?
there.
Trent? Any recollection? Nikon, Nokia,
Nokia's you could throw at a
Motorola,
wall.
perhaps.
I don't remember. I know I
Okay.
was with Sprint back then.
Okay,
But it had it was
Rip.
really small, and it had like the this little U shape on the front, and you can like change the colors out. It was really dope.
oh wow.
But anyway, yeah, I was like constantly taking photos, and then I was doing a bunch of me and my best friend David, who's actually his birthday today. Shouts out to him.
What? Huge shout out to
the
David.
brother. We were doing like all these like crazy photo montages, and eventually it was like I really like this. And then it was when it was time to go back to school, I was like, all right, well, let's fuck around with photography. Let's see where it takes me. And
It takes you everywhere.
So
yeah.
wait, so
It
you
takes
kind
you
of built
everywhere.
that initial foundation of collages and so forth off of this digital one that you found in the
Yeah.
car? Wow. Do you still have it?
I don't know what happened
Oh,
to
man.
that thing. I had it
Who
for
knows?
the longest.
You left it in a car
too.
and somebody found it.
Now some other kid
Full
is
circle.
building his photography career.
Right.
That's
No,
super sick.
Yeah, and it's funny though because I was thinking about inspirations, and inspiration for like visual art for me has never actually come from visual art. Well, in the beginning, anyway.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like it was always from like music, or if it was visual, it was from like comic book artists and things like that. And then I didn't actually start delving into different photographers till I went into school. You know.
So did you have like peripheral knowledge of like the game and kind of how it operated, or were you just like literally in your own universe
I had
of
no knowledge. Like
photography?
I was in my own universe. I was like,
Okay.
"Yo, this looks and feels dope, so I'm gonna do it."
Right.
And that was just the vibe. From
It's
that.
the experimentation because there's so many different ways to take a photo in terms of framing, in terms of like coloring, in terms of it's really like it's an all consuming hobby. I'm not gonna lie, like it's been taking
Absolutely.
me out of life a couple times.
So what was what were like your, I guess, kind of views at the time around photography? Were you like, was it just like, oh, like this looks cool, or like take a photo of like family or like friends, or
I wanted
was
to take
there
a
like
photo of everything.
I mean, were there even like hip hop photographers back then, or like
There were, but
anybody
there
that
was
you
a
were
few.
like kind of taking notes on or anything, or
Not at
no?
all. I was just doing my
grip
thing.
it and rip it, huh?
Yeah, like
There we
were,
go.
Yo, my early 20s, they were crazy. Like we were
Do these archives still exist?
they
Yeah.
exist somewhere. I think
Okay.
I have a bunch of stuff in my photo bucket account. Which
Yeah,
I
the
can't
wow.
remember the password.
Oh.
to. But I think I can recover it. There
I don't
was
even know what
a-
Photo Bucket is. Can you explain that?
Photo Bucket is
That's a
a
great
file
question.
sharing website. It was it's a very old file sharing website.
I guess they just didn't survive the times, really.
yeah, they're still up.
Or
still up?
like not relevant, really.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
so many exist now, and there's like probably so many better deals.
Adobe's cornering the
interesting.
market.
Yeah.
So
Not gonna lie.
what about Christian? I mean, you grew up in a different age, so to
Yes.
speak, like coming up. So what was your kind of initial spark into it? Would you say?
So, shout out Jules from the X. He was like, I need visuals for
We
my.
need to get Jules from the X.
He's
on.
gonna
Jules,
come
if
on.
you're
I
listening,
know.
man. You're a hot topic around these parts. Man.
So
Yeah, Jules, where
secretly,
you at?
that Canon M50 that I carry around my neck all the time, that's not my camera.
oh wow,
That's his camera.
Dang.
Yeah. So similar to what's it called? Similar to
Mhm.
how you guys started, or how you started trying. Somebody was just like, I started with taking pictures on my phone. So right now I'm engaging in like a challenge for myself. To post a photo every day on Instagram with a music and
nice.
story and everything,
Trent,
and
you
try
did
to
that
just
too.
Yeah,
yeah, it's like a photo every
365
day. So
project,
it's a challenge, but it's tiring, but it's good. But that Canon M50, he was like, I need visuals for my video. I need you to get good at he's like you take fire photos on your phone, but the resolution does not hold up on a computer.
You also
So-
naturally wear many hats, Christian. So
Yeah,
it
that's
kind
true.
He
But-
just lit up, y'all.
But
Which is true. Which is so true if you know Christian. But
yeah, I do a lot of different things. Like I just love doing a lot of different things. Like just being at like 101 all the time. Just
absolutely, man.
But yeah.
So Jules said, get on it.
yeah. So he gave me the Canon M50 to use for a couple times, and then he was just like, shoot whatever you want, and then he gave me the SD card reader, and he was just like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to transport all your photos to my desktop. Do you? And I just was like, it just became an addiction. I was just like, somebody gave me something so monumental, and I had just like, I don't know, I had this love for it, and I was just like, this is the framing, and I used to always watch like video essays of how they did the framing, how they always did how visual language in movies and film and how that operates, color grading and everything, from film composition to cinematic portraiture to the history of photography. I actually read a whole book on like I wish I brought it with me today, but I went to Barnes and Nobles, bought a book to read like the history of photography. I'm gonna pull up the.
Is that the one our
author.
coworker got for you? Or
Yeah,
no?
yeah, that
Okay.
was the one that
Very
coworker
nice.
got for me.
Yeah.
So we went to Barnes and Nobles after work, and I was like, man, I really don't want anything for Christmas. And they were like, you sure? And I was just like, if I were to get anything, I would get this photography book. And they surprised me, and I was like, ah. And then I got them something returned. Shout out to them. I don't know if they want to be shouted out.
Side
on the
note:
podcast.
Are you a big gift receiving guy on Christmas? Because
No.
I'm not. Like post 12, I didn't really get gifts.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I do, but it's like
Yeah.
socks and
I do love my
chocolates.
I
It's
do love
grown
my
people
socks.
shit.
Literally, it's grown
Socks
up
and
people's
underwear
shit,
and
man.
sweaters.
I love socks. I'm not gonna lie. Like
Oh my
socks,
god, they're the best.
yeah. You give me a pair of underwear.
I don't mean
What?
to be reductive.
You're
of
on your
my,
way to be an adult, sir.
Yeah.
yeah, right. When you enjoy the
Give me the
socks.
50
Oh, man, I
pack of
can't-
socks. I'm good for you.
I can't
So-
wait till somebody gives me like a power drill, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Oh,
This is what I
dude,
needed.
give me a power drill. Shit. I would take
See,
that
look, you reached
happily,
the
dude. Happily. I just hung up some shelves, like, dude. Yeah, you don't need it till you need it. That's what I'll say. But so I mean, again, growing up in a different age, so to speak, different kind of resources and like things at your immediate disposal. I feel like, and also being very involved in like music, also like having a heavy interest in film and whatnot. Did you have any like peripheral knowledge of photographers of your interest prior to hopping in?
Prior to hopping in, I have seen like videos like Richard Moss. He's one that I look up to in terms of just doing something very surrealistic while painting like an actual documentarian portraiture and everything. But like, if you know me, I look like at the philosophy and ethics of everything. So like, I
true.
love the ethics
true,
of photography and what it means to like capture someone's essence in a photo that could be like monetized, and what that does to a person, like whether it be like a celebrity or whether that be just like your family and everything, and what it means in the grander scheme of like existence. because if you think about it, like photography hasn't been around as a medium for as long as a lot of other things. Like painting was the thing beforehand, and photography had like a profound effect on like painting because people were like, oh, I don't have to sit for hours. I can just point and click. And similar to like, I don't know, AI. Shout out our AI episode. Yeah, similar to that, people would looked at it and were like, oh my gosh, this is gonna take over people's jobs or something. But it led to some of like the most impressive like mediums and forms of art that we've ever seen.
Yeah, kind of carved out his own lane.
Mm-hmm.
It's also important to note that when photography first came around, it wasn't actually respected as an art form.
Yeah.
And it was more used as documentation as opposed to,
Yes.
you know, this is the new art. It was like, yo, this is what we use to archive art.
Yeah, and
Certainly.
funny thing, we can't say executive producer, but you know, quotations. We were in the Edward Hopper exhibit, and a lot of his in film language, a lot of his paintings and everything are parodied or placed within movies and everything. And we're looking at that when we were starting the exhibit. But yeah, photography informs a lot of art in terms of how we, you know, we're visual creatures naturally, so we just need to like have some type of visual and just, you know, some visual audio. That's how we relate to the world, like touching and tasting and stuff. That's like something that's in close proximity. But like, I don't know, if your predator's like fighting you, like an old, like if you're running on the savannah, like you're not gonna taste them from deep.
Not so much.
He's gonna taste you by the time.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, I mean, from I guess that initial spark, then what have you been on lately with it?
Oh, lately,
Or like has like from the point A, have you like I guess like changed your perspective on it? Given, I mean, you're still super new into it.
Yeah,
Have you like
very new into
altered?
it, but it's just I feel like with any art, I've been learning this a lot lately with making like more mixed media and trying to find like the common thread between the two. When you make something, all that stuff like really translates into how you view yourself, and like the way that your relationship with yourself as well as the person that like you're photographing. Like I could take a photograph of one person and it'll be like, all right, this is like a good photograph, it's good composition, and people won't tell the difference. But then like some photographs, I'm just like, you know, I could have like the essence of a person like in there, and it's just like the way I was feeling. Like if you like a funny example is like if somebody takes like a picture drunk and you have like all those blurred effects and like can't get the angles right. Like that type of like euphoric feeling sometimes, like especially when you like a person. Like sometimes I take in like a picture of a person like I was dating at the time, and I was just like, wow, the way that the picture came out.
We know the flick he's talking about.
Yeah, the way.
Here.
Yeah, that's one. And then I have another one that I took recently. I was like, wow.
You know, that's interesting because I mean, how you said that basically the photographer in the subject, whether it be a person or an inanimate object, kind of reflects the personality of the photographer.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting because I would say my kind of niche into like photography is like it's just photographing really weird, like off, like,
just very
off
goofy
the
stuff.
balls shit. Yeah, like stuff that is just odd or kind of sticks out or like perhaps isn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And I would say, yeah, that I guess that perhaps subconsciously reflects maybe what I think of myself, but I think more so like how I kind of view the world, because I really like to like find those little nuances of life. And I mean, they're so abundant in New York City that, I mean, you almost have to have your eyes closed to not capture them.
Yeah. Also, the city itself is just amazing backdrop for any photographer.
It's true.
There's so much nuance. There's so much in terms of like historically just capturing like the differences between different class structures and everything, to like capturing moments of like joy despite that, and how that informs like all the stuff that we see on a daily basis. And it's just like, it's nice when you put it on like Photoshop and have a little whiteboard around it, you know what I'm saying? Like
Definitely.
it makes it more official. It makes it seem like a statement.
I agree. And so before I lose my initial question, to circle back to you, Trent.
Wait a minute. Before let's start
Yeah,
with
let's-
your
let's-
journey.
yeah,
of photography. Let's
yeah,
hear
your
that.
journey.
Like, how did that start?
My journey with photography. Sorry, Christian. Side note, y'all. I just realized that Celsius headquarters is where you're headed
Really?
next week. Yeah, how exciting!
That's
Y'all,
Next to
I've
the
been on
official shop.
Celsius crazy lately. I gave up coffee. I tried to do no caffeine. Had the worst headaches ever.
Traded one drug for another.
One drug for another, but Celsius is wonderful. Sorry, I'm a basic bitch, but okay. For me, photography for me, I never particularly like pursued photography, so to speak. But I mean, I've been like I was an adolescent, or I began adolescence at like the dawn of the iPhone, so I always had like a whatever megapixel camera in my pocket. So I would always kind of be toying around with it, just taking, I don't know, general photos, I guess you could say. But my main interest has really always been skateboarding. And then through that, I really,
Yeah, your
I kind
skateboard
of had
videos are
a-
elite.
Oh, thanks, dude. Yeah, I forget you saw those. But through that, I really was into skateboarding videography for, I would say, maybe like 2 to 3 years. Dig hard enough on YouTube and you can find them. Where they're at now, I don't know. I honestly forgot the YouTube channel. It's probably just my name or something. I would say my biggest accolade within, not that it really went anywhere or whatever, not to be reductive of myself, but I made like a 5-part series called Instantaneous Millennium, which in
That's a fire
retrospect
name.
is like a crazy name. I mean, how many syllables is that? It's a fucking mouthful, but
It's fire though.
It is.
I kind of thanks, y'all. That really means a lot. But
It's
I
also
kind
a
of
fire
mixed.
series too.
Yeah.
Thank you. and now that, I mean, honestly, it's been a while since I've thought about it, but I guess I mixed in some lifestyle stuff alongside obviously skateboarding, mixed in with a little bit of, or I say lifestyle stuff, but it was just a really kind of introspective look into what my friends and I were doing. And again, all tied together through the common thread of skateboarding. And let's see, I mean, we did this one where I met these kids who were just walking across the country. So I talked to them for a little bit, kind of got their story, their spiel. There was this one fucked up club that we used to go to in high school called Afterlife, where they would let in I told
seen
you
that.
about this. They would let in I think the age, you had to be 16 and up. Kids are doing ecstasy there. Kids are
Wow.
it was a pretty gnarly place to be. Anyways, some kid passed away there. Super sad.
Yeah.
So they shut the place down.
I'm not laughing because the kid passed away. I'm laughing because of course someone passed
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
And
I
I
mean,
mean,
it was
mind you,
just
these
doing ecstasy.
motherfuckers were late 40s, letting in 16-year-old kids and shit.
it's
Who
crazy.
does that? It's a pretty atrocious thing.
Yeah, when
But
I
anyways,
saw it on the documentary, I just was like, well, I was gonna say, sorry to interject, but you're a real life documentarian. The way that you did it from straight start to finish, I really felt the emotion of some of the stories of the people. I was just like, wow. No matter how much time passed, I felt
right.
the feeling oh man, this is really really tragic.
Yeah, it was, but hey, there I was there. So, anyways, we went back, checked it out. Who knows where that place is at now, but, again, and then this is all somehow intertwined with skateboarding, but that, to tie it all up, that was kind of, or was my initial draw to cameras, primarily through skateboarding. I would say my biggest inspirations in that endeavor were Jason Hernandez. He was the main videographer for Nike SB, incredibly talented guy. I don't know. That was pretty much him that immediately comes to mind.
That's fine. You don't have to have
You really only
Incredible.
have
You
one.
know what, T-Bot Jefferson as well, right? One of skateboarding's biggest
think you
photographers.
showed
He's
me them
the skateboarding photographer.
I think skateboarding an episode.
He was
is
incredible.
due.
That'd be great. But anyways, yeah, that was mine. And then from that, also, wait, one last note now that I think about it, as I'm taking a stroll down memory lane here, would be my really good friend Corey and I. We went all across the country. We went from Dallas to Austin to California to my first time in New York City
Wow.
to Colorado, and then drove back to Dallas. And I made one big montage, kind of mini doc about it, I guess you could say. called States with Friends, where we like stayed with different people. It was a really great time.
Yeah,
Did you see
wow.
that one by chance?
I did not
Oh
see
my
that
gosh.
one.
Really dope.
Wow.
That is probably like the like piece of work that I'm most like proud of in my videography endeavor. But I'm not gonna hold you. I was thinking about this recently. Like I got such like dull reception on that. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of was like, okay, like maybe videography is not
Hey,
my
maybe we
thing.
could pick it back up.
Which
you
is
never
like,
know.
On-
but like for what it's worth too, like it's okay because like I don't think that it was truly my calling, and like I through that it led me to like find like design, which is like absolutely incredible, and I'm very thankful for that. But anyways, States with Friends, so much fun. Actually, that one, like, go check it out. Like, I would be down for that one to. Oh my gosh, Mr. Frosty.
Mr.
just drove
Frosty.
by.
Hold up, we may have to stop recording.
Yo, yeah, let's go. I'll have to go pick it
Oh,
out.
somebody's gonna get you in the comments for saying Mr. Frosty instead of Mr. Softy.
Was it Oh my gosh, yeah.
They were like-
Actually, come rip me for that one.
Yeah.
I saw the EE at the end as it was zooming by the window.
Comment
Whatever.
section gonna be like Softy.
I've
Yo,
never
all
had
caps.
it. That's my
You
excuse.
never had it. Oh
I've
no.
never had it.
Oh
Yo,
no.
you come at one of us, you got to come at all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, for real.
But yeah, so that was that. Honestly, we could throw the link in the script for that one because that was a fun
Yes.
one, and I'm probably gonna revisit it tonight because it's been so long
Honestly,
since
you
I've watched
should.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was me.
Fuck reception. Like, I think it was dope. That was definitely
Thank you.
like watching,
Yeah.
like, because I was there to witness all of like as he was like growing as a videographer.
Yeah.
And I was there to watch it all build up to that. It was like watching all these skills that he had developed through these other videos come. It's like watching the fucking Avengers come together.
Yeah,
It was like
it's
so
like-
dope. You can see where it all
The
fit
Lucas
in.
Cinematic
True.
Universe.
Yes.
Actually, yeah,
LCU.
like, for our listeners, the LCU, I'm weird. For our listeners at the time,
Sound like a
Trent and
college.
I were working together in Dallas. I had gone through like a pretty gnarly breakup, and I was like, you know what?
And you
It's
had-
time to fucking go
You had
across the
quit,
country.
right?
I
I think you had quit, either
quit.
right before or after.
I quit
Something
actually
like
right
that.
before. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and I was
man.
like, that's fucking dope. that
It
he's
was
doing
fun,
that.
man. It was so fun. Man, yeah, and that was like, I mean, a pretty like important cornerstone as to like even where I'm at right now in this chair. You know, within like the direction of my life and everything. But thank you. You know, that means a lot. And also I was too like immature at the time to understand that it's not about reception because you know, for what it's worth, I could have been 3 feet from gold. And like, you know, if I would have done one more video or two,
Yeah.
3, 8 more videos, then like that would have been the one that hit. And it's not even about that. And at the time I really wasn't aware of that. And I didn't know how to like angle myself within my interest. But like, truth be told, I'm thankful for that now because it led me to like what I'm currently on, which is like apparel design. And that's like, I don't know, that I feel like that's really my true calling. I can grow old as fuck with that, so on and so forth. But this episode isn't about apparel design. It's about photography.
Facts.
Yeah,
But
but
so
to bring
that
it-
that was that.
I was gonna say, to bring it around, I think it's just so interesting the relationship between photography and videography and
Yeah.
cinematography. Because while you were talking about movies, I was like, oh shit, yeah, I loved movies. That was one of the main
inspiration.
influences.
Really?
of
Okay.
How and why I do something. But you were gonna make a point before we got into your journey into photography. What was that point?
No, I was just gonna circle back to you and just kind of ask, like, as I asked Christian, you know, starting from your initial point as to where you're at now, you know, you got more years under your belt, like from where you started as that kid who found the, you know, digital point and shoot,
Yeah.
as to where you are now. Have there been any? I mean, I'm sure there's been a number of revelations along the way, but like, have there been any as more recent, whether it be like the last 3 years or anything, that have kind of like led the direction as to where you're at now?
No recent revelations. I always have revelations. They're normally about myself.
Yeah, you learned a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of
Taking
these
pictures.
lessons we've actually talked about on other shows about, you know, most importantly in school is like being by yourself and what that means, and being alone and being lonely, and separating the two. All of these, you know, all of these lessons that we've learned that I've learned and talked about on prior shows. I was doing photography while I was doing that, so this was coming out through all those projects that I was doing, and I was you know, learning how to be comfortable with myself, learning to turn the camera on myself and figure out how it feels to be the subject, and
Mm-hmm.
not only to be the subject, but to be my own subject and to look inward for those answers. And
Can I ask you a deep question?
go for it.
Are you still in love with photography?
Ooh.
No, I don't think I was ever in love with photography.
Oh,
Honestly,
I
like
that.
I've always been more in love with ideas than anything else.
Important.
like-
Love of
yeah.
ideas is pretty
Foundation.
important.
Like maybe the only thing I might have been in love with was drawing, but no, I wasn't in love. Like
Okay.
I don't know if this is like an artist thing, but I've quit photography like so many times in my head.
I'm
like,
crying.
no, I don't want to.
Which
but
is
it's like,
important.
I don't even know.
eventually I come back to it because I think there's a part of me that does love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I love the process of it. There's something to be said about being up at 2 a.m. listening to music or a podcast and just editing photos.
Yes.
And looking at the shit and be like, yo, I'm kind of the shit right now.
I'm
Like,
Yeah,
I-
it's definitely
yo,
an ego boost. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Like when
we
you
get-
have a nice photo, you're just like, I can't even like some. You ever take a photo and you're like, I don't even remember taking this one. Like,
Yeah.
I've had that recently. Like
Yeah.
I don't like in a series. Like it'll be like a series within a series. So like I'll take a lot of photos, but then there'll be like one that sticks out, and I'm like, wow, what the heck? I didn't even
Yeah,
remember
where was
taking that
I?
one. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to the photography book that I had.
Hey. Break it
Just
in,
this
bro.
one. Yes, Wilhelm. You know, he has to come for every episode. Gotta give him a space. But the author is Tom Ang, or Ong. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But it's photography, history, art, and technique. And he tells you how to frame a subject, how the history of photography, how it came from just like you said before, like not respected as an art form to the technological advances and everything, because a lot of it comes from like photography, and it's a product of like the modern era. And as like the modern era kind of like comes about with like inferences and like things and developments in technology and everything, it creates a lot of the things that you see nowadays, like you were saying before, like trying to be the subject and trying to put it in your eyes, trying to become the subject yourself and trying to be comfortable in yourself, because to be captured by someone else is like really intimidating. It's like the epitome of like,
It's so weird.
Yeah.
sometimes,
It is.
yeah,
It's so
it's-
weird. Yeah.
It's a
It's like,
weird-
okay,
Like,
act
hey.
normal.
like act normal. And it's just like photography. I was listening to a cultural critic and photographer. I mean, not
What
photographer,
is
but a writer.
cultural critic?
A cultural
Somebody who
critic.
just critics the culture?
Critiques.
Yeah. So
Really?
yeah.
Is that like that's under his name and like
yeah,
a
that's
culture
that's
critic?
yeah, that's under her name. That's Susan Sontag. She's a writer as well. But it's
Wow.
like you're a writer, and then you
Okay.
also critique, like, let's say you'll be like,
Modern.
yeah, it's like a sociological thing. So you'll be like
yeah.
the culture of
Okay.
America within this period of time, and
So-
then there'll be a cultural critic.
Almost like a sociologist as well.
Yeah,
like
like
they're
this-
all adjacent to one another.
Yeah, like
kind of?
it's
Okay.
like a cultural critic is like I'm gonna get flamed by the cultural critics of the world, but a cultural
Come
critic,
at us.
yeah, come at us. I'm ready to critique
I'm
you guys
sorry.
too.
I'm feeling very adversarial today.
Yeah, I feel
I'll
it.
I'll turn it down a notch.
Nah.
Keep it up, man.
Keep
Go
it
one
up.
notch up. But
They
okay,
won't.
sorry. Cultural critic.
But yeah, Susan Sontag and shout out Philosophize This podcast. I love that one.
to listen.
Shout out.
But yeah, he talks about how in her work she speaks upon the ethics of like an image and what it means to capture a person and our relationship to images. And like you can see it in the culture of like tech industry, like in terms of like Instagram didn't set out to be like a place where people become like insecure or whatnot because of like their image and like because of the likes and everything.
Right.
But because of like the atmosphere and because of like implicit effects and the, I guess the theory of law of unintended consequences and everything, yeah, you end up having people having like issues with themselves because of images, not because of themselves, just because of the images that they see. So I guess I'll offer it to you guys. What do you think the responsibility of a photographer is in the modern era with all these things that we see nowadays? It's a tough question
It is a tough question.
because there's so much you can do. Also depends on your subject too.
I think I don't like to put things on other people, so I'm just going to say I think my responsibility is to be as honest as possible as an artist, not just a
Yeah.
photographer, but just to be as honest as possible. I saw that. Instagram.
Mhm. Yeah, you showed me that.
You know,
Fire. I
and
love that one.
what that moment reveals is what that moment reveals, you know, and if it brings up a conversation of what it means to, you know, as far as like body image or, you know, looking at a person who may feel a certain way about it, then, you know, that's part of the conversation. But I think it's just my responsibility to just be honest about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't mind answering for my actions.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that there's like a reasonable kind of unspoken line between like what is like, you know, reasonable and what is not. But I mean, I'm always kind of thinking in terms of like, you know, imagine if, you know, Jacob Riis, for example, like
Yeah.
one could argue perhaps his photographs aren't like the most ethical or something. The New York photographer who took a ton of photographs in the New York City tenements in like the late 1800s. But I think that is incredibly, incredibly important to have for means
Yeah.
of like society.
For documentarian purposes.
Absolutely. And like while it could be frowned upon as like, man, like, you know, you're really like kind of you know, capturing these people forever in time and like, you know, some really bad conditions or something. But I think that it's important to just so we can move forward, we also have to look backwards. And I guess I'm more so thinking in terms of like documenting like everyday life that might not always be pretty, but I
Yeah.
think that it's
Just keeping
important
it
for
honest.
I mean, as Trent said, like honesty with it. And I just think that it's important, you know, like 100 years from now for people to be able to look back on what the year 2023 was like. And as far as I'm concerned, I would want to make sure that I captured everything that I possibly could in order to convey that image as accurately as I could.
Yeah.
Because that's what I would want.
Yeah.
Maybe that's selfish.
No, that's fair. I feel like it's a difficult thing. Depends on what I'm doing. If even now I don't even like monetize my photos yet. Like I haven't really monetized them. I've been kind of hesitant because I always like think about this stuff all the time. But yeah, in terms of just capturing someone's like depends on what you're doing. Also, you have like
it's huge.
yeah. Sometimes like
That's
you
a
have
thing too.
war zone photographers and everything, and like their duty is have you ever seen Full Metal Jacket?
Dude, I met a guy who was like photographing on the front lines of Ukraine at our job.
Wow,
Crazy,
really?
yeah.
I could imagine like that stuff it's necessary, but also our relationship with images in the modern era kind of cuts us at a distance because
Huge,
it seems like you see the images, but the value of an image kind of decreases, or like the impact of an image kind of like goes down as you see more and more.
Absolutely.
And like you become invested, but like conceptually not seeing the person.
Desensitized.
Yeah.
So that's like a issue that I see with photography generally. But at the same time, you could capture like the most beautiful moment with like a child being born, even if it's not technically great, or like oh wow, I just saw like this baby. Like oh my gosh, and then you throw in the group chat and it's like oh my gosh, we have a new baby cousin. Like 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 it's the little things. So it comes in multitudes. I think it's a spectrum.
Absolutely.
But for me, every photo has like an agenda, I guess. What you decide to put in the frame is up to the photographer. And I feel like what you include in that frame, that little like 3x4, if you're shooting by 3x4, shout out
to 3x4s.
3x4
Heads out here.
Yeah. Whatever you're shooting on, whatever aspect ratio, whatever you stick in that frame, it has to come from the heart and has to be something that you can say like is, for me, human. Like for me, just an essence of the person or the self, and something that feels like unique and feels honest and feels like, you know, just not trying to be exploitative, just trying to represent, like, especially like, let's say for instance, when someone's like contracted to go take photos of like the Dust Bowl, or something like in the 30s, and they had like people going around, and you have that famous photo of like the woman looking over. I forgot the name of it.
I know what you're talking
yeah,
about. I'm trying
but
to think of the photographer.
yeah,
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, it was during Great Depression era, but like certain
it was-
images, like
Which one would describe the photo?
I'm gonna pull it up. But it's a woman and she's holding her child in the
She's
dust
like kind of
bowl.
looking to the side.
Yeah, and
yeah.
like that type of image provokes like the sentiment like I need to help someone.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, I feel like people just want to help people when it comes to like those traumatic photographies or like those kind of cold and distant ones. Sometimes it could just be like, wow, this is like the most amazing fashion piece. This is so interesting. This is very creative because it is an art form too. And it's just like, art comes in multiple modes. It comes in melancholic modes. It comes in like the happiest modes. It comes into like a lot of different forms. And I just feel like the photographer's responsibility is just be honest and just have the heart and soul in it. And it usually translates.
That
Yeah,
one by Dorothea Lange.
Yeah, Dorothea
I believe it was called Migrant Mother.
Yeah.
Wow. But no, I was gonna say that's a great word, exploitive. I think photography in nature is
very.
exploitive. Like no matter what you do, you're taking an image and using it for a specific purpose. And a couple things come to mind. I cannot, for the life of me, remember this photographer, but there was a situation where I think it was like a burning building, and it was multi-story.
Wow.
And
There's multiple instances
eventually,
of that.
what's up?
I said there's multiple instances of that. It's really bad, like Triangle Waste Factory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one. They took pictures of people like trying to exit the building too.
Yeah. No, and eventually there was this woman that just jumped.
Yeah.
And the photographer was clicking
Where
as
was this
she
at?
was falling. I don't remember. It's one of the images that I learned about in school way back when. And he said when she hit the ground, he couldn't, like, once she was getting closer, he couldn't keep doing it. He had to pull away. And that's one of the crazy things. That's why I've never been put in like a situation like that, but I always sort of question myself especially when it comes to street photography. Like that's
street photography is probably like the most like one you have to worry about the most.
To build off of that, I mean, I think that it's like, I mean, in that split second decision, it's like, do I keep like, pulling the trigger on this, or like do I stop for, I mean, a number of different reasons. But immediately what comes to mind is two instances in which I guess they were dealt with in different ways. But the first one is the photographer Richard Drew, who actually took a photo of I'll go as far as to say the notorious photograph of the falling man. On 9/11, which is the man who has never been clearly identified falling upside down, hands behind his back with like one knee bent, and it's just like him singularly in the middle of the photograph with the Twin Towers directly behind him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Needless to say, fell to his death. And he was, he was almost like just indifferent on taking the photo. And another part about him is he was actually at the, I believe it was the
Like a
Beverly,
dog show or some shit like that.
Well, prior to that, he was at Bryant Park taking wedding photos.
Yeah.
But even more interesting than that is in 1967, he was at what I believe was like the Los Angeles Hotel or Beverly Hotel when Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated. And he actually was in the back room when he was shot too. And he did an interview where he said that Ethel Kennedy, his wife, was like, stop taking photos. I mean, her fucking husband, who just won the Democratic National, electoral for running for president, whatever, just got shot. And, Ethel Kennedy was like screaming at him, like, yo, quit taking photos. And he said, like, his view on it was like, look, I'm a photographer. This is what I do. It's nothing personal. Sorry. Like, and he kept taking photos. Yeah. Which is like, my girlfriend, she's also a photographer, and I inquired on her behalf what she thought of that, and she's like, personally, I think it's fucked up, but then I mean, we wouldn't have that historical imagery, and it's like, well, shit, do you do it or do you not? And I mean, yeah, this
Yeah,
guy
this is
was.
a powerful image.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
It's-
Have you seen
it's-
that before?
I have not.
Yeah,
This
The
is a
Falling
power-
Man by
There's
Richard
a
Drew.
really good
for all
documentary
listeners.
on it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
crazy because he took a bunch of photos, but that was just the one that they chose. Because a lot of people
Yeah.
look at that
It-
and it's like him accepting his death, but really it was just a
He was-
moment that
yeah.
they caught.
And to that point, he said that he didn't. What you were saying, Christian, is he said he didn't know that he caught that. It wasn't until he got back late that
Yeah.
night of September 11th, 2001, that he saw that image. And the second one was the photograph of the most beautiful suicide, where the girl, I believe in the 30s, she jumped off of the Empire State Building Observatory, crashed on top of a Secret Service car, I believe, and she's like completely intact. But she crushed the entire hood of the car.
Wow.
And there was actually a suicide note where she said, "Please just like have nobody see me."
Yeah.
And needless to say, I mean,
They
this
just
is
took the photo.
one of New York City's perhaps most like famous photographs.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. The
and it was a
legacy.
photography student who ran across the street and snapped the photo.
Wow.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is
Oh, wow. I just pulled it up. That's
the most beautiful
Crazy.
suicide.
And she didn't want to be seen.
Yeah. And whenever they picked her up, she was like jello. I mean, completely like fell apart, which is rather grim. But again, it's like, man, like we would only have like a passing story of that if we didn't have the imagery of
Yeah.
it. So it's like,
But I mean, do we need that kind of imagery? Do we
don't
need
know.
those types of images in the world? Because I mean, what does that really
Yeah.
do in the long run? I mean, the 9/11, I think probably, seeing that probably just drummed up the country more to get behind, invading Iraq and all these sorts of
true.
things, even though
It's true.
it was not Iraq. But
Yeah.
even though that was
a
an
lot
incredibly
of
A lot of these are just like, wow.
incredibly successful invasion
Yeah.
and a completely successful departure.
Wow. I'm not
Nah,
even gonna lie.
yeah.
This is like a beautiful image too. That's the crazy
Have you
thing.
seen that before, Christian?
I've never seen these.
Really?
Me either. I've never heard that story.
Really?
But this
Yeah.
is such a sad image.
Yeah, it is, man.
It captures
She's-
like the human like struggle too.
It really does, man. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, she's clenching like her chest. I believe it was over a like a heartbroken lover, and she jumped off the Empire State Building. Yeah.
That makes me sad.
Yeah.
So
But do quite that like no, really, I'm really asking that. Do you guys think we need that, like those kinds of images?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. I think that it's important for humankind to be able to look back on where we came from and kind of like where we're going in moments of the past. And like that does go as far as to say if like, God forbid if I was in a horrible situation and like somebody snapped a pic, I hope that doesn't happen. But
Yeah.
like I'd be
Yeah.
like, man, that's like the way of human nature. And like I think that by whatever context something was to occur, if it was worth capturing, if I, but again, like these are two pretty like historical
Extremes.
instances. Yeah, two extremes. But if it's like,
But I
You
mean,
know,
you never know when
yeah.
you're gonna be part of history. Every day is
Exactly,
history.
yeah.
Every day is
but
history.
I would say so. And I think that like, that means that I'm also subjected to that type of like, voyeurism or like intrusion of privacy or what have you. But like, don't go snapping naked photos of somebody in their window or some
Yeah.
shit. But yeah, I mean, I think you put it beautifully. Like, you never know when you're going to be a part of history, and you don't know when you're
Yeah.
going to be subjected to that. So I think
yeah.
so, Christian.
I disagree slightly. I feel like within moderation.
Okay.
Some moments are okay to be lost to history. I feel like, because
Certainly.
like even when I have my camera, sometimes I don't put it on, or I purposely don't take pictures of something. I'm like, this is,
And I do that too, for sure. Because
I feel like
everything.
there's something about they talk about it in terms of like digital accounts when somebody passes away, like who takes over it and everything. Like it's an ethical question. Like should the account be up? Should all the photos be deleted? Should like the person? So
Have
it's
you
just
seen
like
the remembering?
no, I have not.
Really? Have you seen that on Instagram?
No.
It'll be like remembering, like
Oh.
on somebody like who's passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like a really interesting
know that was a
feature.
thing.
Yeah,
it's
because
a
people
thing, yeah.
people pass away.
Interesting.
So it's
Yeah.
that's another ethical question. I want to tackle that one time. But the reason why I bring it up is because they talk about the right to be forgotten, and in this period of history, it's really the only time really where every human being almost has the ability to document themselves and document their own personal history.
Yeah.
And for good or bad reasons, somebody else could later on pick that up and find it and use it for whatever means without their permission. So some people are arguing for like the right to be forgotten to history, and I think it's a valuable thing. It depends on the nature of the person. Like
Yeah.
if a person is a famous person, they're not gonna be forgotten. It's just the nature of like celebrity
Yeah, and fame.
and fame and
Yeah.
and just like certain industries like music, certain like just certain popularity just comes with that, and there's a lot of ethics that come with that as well. But yeah, I feel like it's within moderation. I feel like because also it's just an aspect of surveillance too, and like surveillance and camera photography is like it's a part of like this technology, like having videography, like CCTV was a big thing. Also, you have like people monitoring people from like satellite images or something, like whether it be like in more environments, and it's just like even in like the room we're recording and there's a camera right there.
What up?
What's up, guys? Anyway,
They're recording us recording.
they're recording us recordception. Yeah. I feel like these times is very difficult to be a photographer, but it's very important to just have these questions in mind. If a photographer simply just thinks about these things, it improves them as a photographer, I feel like, because then you select your images very precisely, and it fine tunes like what you're looking to do, and what you're willing to capture, and how you go about things. And I always try to say, like, when you move with like ethics and everything, just moving like you just feel better, and it attracts better for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting.
What are your thoughts on this?
I had a point, and then I started looking at this photo again. It's really
Wow, really?
grabbing me.
It's really
Yeah,
melancholic,
it's
but no,
but
there-
it's the feeling too.
it's heavy,
It
yeah.
is. It is. No, especially knowing the story, because like it immediately when you see images, like your brain starts concocting its own story.
Yeah.
So regardless of knowing the backstory, I think it would have hit hard as well. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no, there is something to be said about the right to be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where I stand on it. I guess I'm a little bit of both, because I get the importance of capturing things, but I also know that there's value, and like when you were talking
Yeah.
about, not actually taking pictures, there's value in just being in the moment and letting that moment be, and so I'm not sure where I stand on it.
I feel like it's a balance, because you kind of fluctuate depending on the situation.
Absolutely. And I do try to be conscious of those kind of things, like when I'm out shooting, like would this person want to be on camera, with this for whatever purpose I'm going to use it for, would they be accepting of that? It's always those questions that travel with me. That's why when I do street photography, sometimes I just like take pictures of buildings and spaces that speak to me.
Yeah.
The building's like, I don't want to. The building does not consent.
You are violating my rights.
So to kind of reel it back in here to, I guess more concrete photography. If I may ask, who are some of y'all's like real notable inspirations? A few have just come to mind as I was kind of pondering it over it myself.
Oh, so I have so many. I just look at pictures all the time now. It's really become my life. I'm not gonna lie. Like aside from music, like I look at music and listen to it, but I've been really in my photography bag, like just loving it. Like Trent sent me a video about shout out Nerd Writer, amazing essayist.
Oh, he's gonna take mine.
Yeah.
That's like my number one.
Oh, I'm not
number
gonna
one draft pick.
I'm not gonna take him. I'll take somebody else. I'll take.
No, do it.
No, because you're gonna talk
Wait,
about
is
him
he a
anyways.
photographer?
Yeah,
or
he's a
an
photographer.
essayist?
No. Talk about him, and I'll chime in when necessary.
Yeah, no, I'll talk about somebody else. I got you. I have this gentleman. I shouted him out before. His name is Richard Moss. He shot like a lot of these beautiful, iconic images on infrared Kodak film.
Oh,
And-
I remember him.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
I think you
I
told us
was
about him on
talking
an
about this for
earlier
like
episode.
weeks. But yeah, it's very beautiful. Also, I believe ASAP Rocky and a couple of other artists that I'm not too familiar with, but they also just use a lot of like the color grading and everything to make the pinkish backgrounds and everything for the green. But I feel like his portrayal of this event. So he's talking about like the impossible image, and this is a good example of what I feel is like a pretty ethical way of taking photography. So the subjects know that they're being photographed, and that's why they get like all these funny and unique poses. If you look at the impossible image, like this gentleman knows he's being photographed, but it gives you some insight into what the projected image of a person is in a war zone, especially when a lot of these people are not that much old, like around my age and everything. So
And-
a lot of these are in context with the Democratic Republic of Congo, and like or from what I remember.
Yeah, I was gonna say in a brief synopsis, what is so Richard Moss, he's in the Congo, you said, and he's photographing war.
He goes. He's photographing like a local war that's been going on for a while, like for a long time, and yeah, I want to do an episode on Africa and what it means to like in our relationship to media. Yeah. But yeah, he went over and wanted to take this film and wanted to capture what it means to be like to have like this unspoken like real life event, and kind of shed light to it. So photography, kind of like uplifting awareness while also creating some like stunning and unique images.
Where is he from?
I think he's Irish. He's an Irish photographer.
I see.
But like some of his images are just so beautiful.
yeah.
I'm just like, wow.
So there's like nature kind of shots, I guess you could say, intertwined into his
Yeah.
portfolio.
So this is like
oh my
one
gosh.
of my right. So it's like this is like the image of like a skull, and then it's
Lying
like
in
the
some brush.
lying in some brush, but it's like a red hue because infrared Kodak only picked up. It was originally like a military type of thing to kind of see like moving objects. So he used something that was like a military technology, kind of like with what the origins of photography getting so good was like military photography and whatnot.
Or the origins of the internet.
Yeah, or the origins. A lot of technology is for military use. So to use that to raise awareness on an unspoken war, I felt like was a very noble pursuit. May have been exploitative to an extent, but like we said before,
I mean, if they consent, right?
yeah, I mean, they were consenting for most of the parties, and it's like a documentary. So I feel like this is a good example of a good documentarian while also creating some like beautiful and stunning art and images that inspires people and makes people like truly like think about the ethics of what it means and what and this is also questioning like masculinity in Warzone and like how it tends to delusion a lot of people and or like it becomes like an absorbed type of role that comes from having to kind of put up this facade in order to be imposing to like your foreseen enemy or something like that. But
yeah, Richard Moss.
yeah,
All
Richard
right.
Moss.
Very nice. Trent, let's hear it.
First
See him
one that
winding
comes
up
to-
over here.
Okay, so I actually just found out this photographer's name last night because I was thinking I was trying to
Fresh
remember
off.
like the photographers that inspired me. Michael Parks came to mind, but he's not a photographer. He was a painting.
Oh.
And because when I first started off, especially when it comes to like art and sketching, I was really into surrealism. And
Surrealism, I love surrealism.
Wait, I'm sorry. You said his name?
No, I did not say his
Oh,
name.
okay.
I was talking about how into surrealism I was. And yeah, but that's not who I was gonna say. But I was gonna mention him. His name was James Olsman, and I didn't know his name
So
for the
he's
longest.
passed by now.
I believe so.
Okay.
But initially, when I started off as photography, I wanted to basically do what I was doing with drawing. I wanted to sort of transfer these sort of surreal ideas onto that, and I made some attempts. But essentially, I still don't follow that, but some parts of me still do, and I've got some plans on
Hey,
that.
And
I really wanna
what
do
was
some
this
surrealist
gentleman's
stuff.
name again?
James Olsman.
How do you spell
that? UEL.
UEL.
SMANN, I believe.
Man, I spelled that wrong.
Yeah.
Got you.
But
Okay.
I just put him in the tab, and now the tab is gone.
No.
But he's got
whoa,
these
this
really
is so you. I
crazy.
see this.
Yeah, he's got these really crazy.
Wait, is it Jerry?
Is it Jerry?
Jerry Yulesman?
Are you sure?
I
Yeah,
think
Is
that's
it
what
Jerry?
I'm
this
Did
is
I
a
just
realist,
fuck his
right?
name up? Is it Jerry?
Diz.
Yo, I'm sorry, Jerry.
It's
At least
my
I got
son
the
Jerry.
last name.
Wow, these are
I got
True.
the
Yeah, you
crazy-
got the difficult part
But,
right.
Yeah, these are
but
beautiful.
remember,
oh my
I
gosh.
just
Oh
learned
wow,
this
he
last night.
just passed
But,
away.
yeah.
But no, when I first started out, I was
Wow, this is so
always
you.
searching for
Wow.
surreal images, and his would come up, and
This
I
is
would just
so
save
beautiful.
them.
Really?
Like he's got like, and
I love surrealist imagery.
this was like, I think when he started it was actually Photoshop's been around for a while. I think it came
Yeah.
out in the 70s maybe. But anyway,
yeah, like proto area of it.
he's got these really, really, as you can see, crazy images that are just
Wow.
like breathtaking.
There
black and
seems to
white.
be like
So much
a
inspiration.
like a Photoshop element where he's like overlaying images. So would he take everything and compile them, or is it all original work by him?
I don't know. Like I said, I
Okay.
just found out who he was.
Oh,
I would
wow.
my relationship to most artists is like I don't.
Look at the
A lot of
person, you look
times
at the art.
I don't delve too deep in the process. I just go with like what moves me about the image.
Mm.
But that's an interesting question, and now I am gonna look that up.
These are so beautiful. Like, oh my
Right?
gosh, these are making me almost tear up because they're so, like, this is just such a powerful image. I don't know.
Whoa.
Like, it's so.
Yeah, I
it's-
wonder if he got images elsewhere or what his process was. That's really interesting.
I just love surrealism as a movement. I actually have a friend who used to work with us.
mm-hmm.
And I-
Dox him. No, I'm just
we,
kidding.
we can say his name. I want him on the podcast. I'm gonna pressure him. Is it Yvonne? Yvonne.
Yvonne. Oh, Yvonne.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes,
X,
he's a
fellow Texan.
yes, he's a fellow Texan. He's a local painter.
Shouts out to Texas.
Yeah, he kind of stepped away from painting for a little bit to make some more moolah. But at the same time, he incorporates a lot of like Mexican iconography and imagery. And he himself is a very surrealistic artist, in my opinion. So I always call him. I'm like, that's my surrealist artist friend.
Nice.
Sick.
I was also inspired by like Salvador Dali and things like that. That's so dope.
Is he? I'm trying to
From
see.
what?
Yeah.
Like purely a surrealist?
Yes, from purely a
Yeah,
surrealist point of view. But back to photographers, as he was
Yeah.
going to mention Gordon
Mhm.
Parks, the
Yes, I love Gordon Parks.
the black photographer, composer, film director, author,
Renaissance
He's-
man.
Yes, Renaissance man. So many hats under his belt, and I think that in itself is inspiring.
Is he still around?
Too. No, he died
he
back in
passed away.
2006, unfortunately. But his images, he does photojournalism, but his portraits say so much.
Yeah. Shout out American Coffee.
Like, yeah, American Gothic.
American-
Boom. It's like he was around during the Civil Rights Movement, and so a lot of his images tend to reflect what was going on in the poverty, the segregation, all these other things.
Where
And
was he
you see
based
it.
out of?
He was born in one of the K's. Was it Kentucky or Kansas, something like that? But
Yeah.
he came to New York.
One of the Midwest
Yeah,
states.
yeah,
And
yeah.
speaking of
eventually
images-
he came to New York.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And what? So he was probably active from say like the 20s, 30s. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've got
wow.
that. That's I
You know
use a lot
what's
of
so
his-
beautiful about that too is I have like this just kind of came to me is that like I feel like when photography was very new, you caught people in such a natural element because they weren't
Yeah.
aware of like the byproduct of like what taking a photo was. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Also, that was a child, so children are just naturally like
Yeah,
you
they-
know perfect whatever. But like great, you know. But yeah, I feel like, but even with any adults or anything, I just feel like, it's just so true and exactly what that moment was like. But okay, so yeah, I'm sorry. You said he was probably active from what, like the 20s to like the 80s
No,
primarily.
this is the 40s to
40s,
the,
okay.
around the 70s. Yeah.
Wow, man, what a time to be documenting. So was he more of like a Rolling Stone, like he was all around, like documenting kind of the climate of the nation, or what?
He's
yeah.
did so much.
I mean, there was I can't remember what the
I want to link the Nerd Writer video, honestly.
Did-
Hopefully.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, continue.
No. Fuck, what was I thinking? there was a bunch of thoughts happening at once. You said something and he said something. But no. I was gonna reference. What was your question? Wait, you asked the question.
No, yeah, I was just curious, like if he was like a Rolling Stone, like if he was all around the nation documenting to and from.
I know he was based mostly in New York, but I know he
Okay.
traveled some.
Yeah, I remember he. Sorry to interject. He was contracted to do some government program to take photography too. That's how
Oh
he got.
wow,
That's how you ended up with American Gothic. That's what I remember from the video.
wow. Did he have any like real like one iconic photograph or something,
He's
or
got a lot of
So
iconic
many.
or
photographs.
like
He-
one that like
he did
everybody
f-
would know?
I mean,
So
the
many.
one with
Oh my
Muhammad
gosh.
Ali. I think.
Damn,
this
that's
one-
him.
Yeah.
This
He
one
looks
would stand
sick.
out as well.
Oh whoa, wait, is that him?
No, that's not him. That was that was a piece he did
yeah, that's
on
beautiful.
I believe it was about people living in the sewers, like they were
What?
homeless. And yeah. It
I mean,
was
given they're
crazy.
still around today.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
let
he
me see.
has
Wait,
so
what
many
was the
iconic
Muhammad Ali
images.
one?
photo. Oh, this is probably his most famous one.
American
That's
Gothic.
American Gothic.
Oh wow. So what? Any quick backstory on that one?
From what I remember, the woman depicted in the photo, God bless her, I forgot her name. But she was just doing janitorial duties, and like I said, he was contracted by, the government for a program, to take photos. And he just saw it, and he was just like, yeah, he showed this photo to his editor or something, and his editor was like, you get the point, but this is kind of a statement against America.
I was gonna say this is the one that kicked it off, right? He just kind of
Yeah.
saw her and he just took the photo. of it.
Scroll
And it's
scroll
like-
down again, or like exit out of that one. There was a image. Yeah, that one like right
This one?
to the right.
This
That's
one?
him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's-
him.
Oh
That's,
my
him.
god!
That's from
What
his
an
younger era.
incredible,
Right?
what an incredible,
What a
photograph.
beautiful. Shout out Gordon Parks. Also, I wanted
Seriously,
to
yeah, his
say,
work looks incredible.
what's it called? His work. If you want to see just how somebody takes somebody's images and then puts them to modern era. Says, wow, that's such an
Yeah.
iconic Muhammad Ali
Muhammad
photo.
Ali, beautiful.
But yeah, if you want to see an example of Gordon Parks, and how his images kind of get paid homage to, whether it be in Kendrick Lamar's Elements video. So if you look at Elements, if you want to look at all the stuff like this, a lot of these shots were homages to Gordon Parks' work. So the kid holding the gun, the people punching in the room, and there's a lot of stuff. I implore everyone to kind of explore that if you are interested. But yeah, just an amazing work.
Yeah, Gordon
about-
Parks.
Yeah, shout out Gordon Parks.
Shout out to Gordon Parks. Oh, he gets.
I was gonna say, who's your inspiration?
Gotta give my man his time.
I know we gotta give Wilhelm his space. Gotta give him
My
his chair, too.
inspiration, I think that I don't know. I think most of I'm pretty sporadic in my nature. Like, I mean, y'all know I do like real deep dives on people, and then I'm kind of like on to the next.
Yeah.
But and that's not to say that I like forget them or I like set them to the side, like I don't care. But I'm always like running around on like wherever the inspiration is next. But immediately, I mean. Dennis Stock, he comes to mind. Incredible photographer. I believe he was originally hired by Life magazine. Of course, he had an incredible body of work with James Dean. He shot the iconic photo of him in Times Square, but he was also like on movie sets back in the day, in like the 50s to the 60s. Had a handful of like really, I mean, just his portfolio was incredible through and through. So he's really great.
He photographed Miles Davis.
Oh yeah, huge. Absolutely,
Wow.
yeah. He was really an incredible photographer. He's great. I mean, Jacob Reese, I think he's really
Jacob Reese is a good one, too.
really incredible body of work. I really know next to nothing about him, but really just like everything that he captured, again, I think is so important. I'm a huge nerd for just New York City history. EP coming soon.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just like, an incredible thing to capture, very important. And then fast forward to today, I mean, I think that, Atiba Jefferson is incredible. I think he's a really great photographer. Hands down, skateboarding's most prominent photographer. And then lastly, there's a good homie, Patrick Woodling, incredibly talented photographer. He's based here in New York City. He's incredible. But yeah, needless to say, inspiration is everywhere. Yeah, find it when you open your eyes. It's really everywhere.
Yeah, honestly. I guess as we're trying to draw this episode to a close, I guess
before we go, I want to shout out a
before we-
female photographer.
Oh, yes.
She's a Japanese photographer by the name of Miwa Yanagi. Let me pull up some of her
Oh,
work.
please.
But she did a lot of, I believe she's still alive and kicking as well. But she does a lot of work on feminism and gender roles and things like
love
that.
that
Let me
stuff.
see if I said, yeah. But
People be
she's got
thinking
some
that.
really dope surreal photos. She did the one called Fairy Tales. Very colorful
Wow.
images. I believe she did some black and white stuff too. But a
Black
lot
and
of
white
that
is
was,
such a beautiful
Whoa.
timeless medium. Wow.
you know, a lot of that was questioning gender roles in
That's
society.
Miwa Yanagi,
Like a
MIWA
painting.
YANAGI.
It does. Like her work is
98, huh?
crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Also, shout out to women photographers or women identifying photographers.
yes.
They don't get the credit they deserve all the time.
Listen,
Wow.
Looks like a nightmare.
Like she does some crazy
Wow.
work, and I love it. And
Some-
it inspired me in college as well. I wanted to
Miwa
say that.
Yanagi, right?
I mean, there's like
Wow.
a bunch of stuff I didn't mention, but
This is
yeah,
so surreal.
we're hitting time.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna revisit this topic a lot of times because obviously we're all inclined to take photos and have photography. We have photos of our own as a podcast. So
Yes, we do.
Lovely. But yeah, y'all, I guess we can wrap it up at that point. Any listeners, again, still listening, thanks, y'all. Please
Hey.
drop your favorite photographers and whatever,
Yeah, please
capacity
share
you're
them.
listening. Would love to hear them. Put us on. Again, inspirations
Yeah,
everywhere.
absolutely. I'm always looking for stuff.
yeah,
Diz, Mr. Sage, any closing thoughts?
yeah. Who shout outs and thank yous. Shout outs and thank
yeah,
yous.
shout outs and thank yous. Thank you to the person who rented a car from Avis and Budget and left that. left
We
that
know you're
point
listening.
shoot.
know you're
I put it to
listening
get
out
used,
there.
and now the camera belongs to the next generation.
Yes.
You want to go
for
first?
me, shout out to the first person that took that photo. You know, that's descriptive. You know, like the very first photograph, isn't it like out of like a French window or something? Anyways, whoever that was, shout out to them.
Oh, I
Oh.
fucking forgot his name. I
Shout out
probably
to
butchered
them.
The name
Shout out to
anyway.
them.
Mr.
We
Sage.
need an editor for that, just
do.
to
We
throw him
do.
on the screen. Big shout out to my friend Amir. He had his grandfather. He had his grandfather's old film cameras, and he recently let me use them. And he
Nice.
said he did the similar thing to my friend Jules. He was just like, you know, you have something for this, so I'd rather it be used than not be used. So shout out to them. Shout out to
Beautiful.
anyone that gives the opportunity to someone that they feel like they have they have some talent to. Doesn't matter what medium. Just allowing someone to have that avenue, that creative outlet, especially like in times like these. It leads you to a lot of places and gives you a lot. So shout out to them. And shout out to everyone in front of the lens and behind the lens.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you,
Thanks to
folks.
all.
You've been a wonderful, invisible audience. Peace.